Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 21 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormick. During today's show, we will discuss critical issues facing government and industry leaders with our cybersecurity strategies and solutions. With me on the show today are Brigadier General Brian Wisniewski, Deputy Commanding General for Reserve Affairs, U.S. Army Cyber Command; Gary Buchanan, Chief Information Security Officer, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency; Ryan Bellick, Deputy Director, Infrastructure and Cyber Services, U.S. Coast Guard; Lamont Copeland, Senior Director, Public Sector Solutions Architecture, Verizon Business Group; Rob Sheldon, Senior Director of Public Policy and Strategy at CrowdStrike; and John Sorek, Regional Director, Federal Abnormal AI. All right, General, we're going to start with you. That's a big swath of responsibility you have out there. You all have been stood up now for, I guess, over a decade. You've been there. I think you've had a couple different roles over there. It sounds like you've had a lot of activity recently. Tell us the state of state. Give us the top line.
Yes, sir. No, definitely appreciate the opportunity. I think one of the probably one of the premier initiatives we have underway is the Army Cyber Command's Technology and Innovation Center. That's led by Mr. Phil Alcorn out of the Georgia Cyber Center here in Augusta. What they're able to do as an Army research lab is essentially partner with industry and educational institutions and leverage a lot of the unique expertise we have within the soldiers and the civilians of Army Cyber Command. So a good example of that is probably the Transformation and Contact Tech Accelerator Program. They've been specifically recognized as one of the key participants in that. The cyber development team actually recently engineered and developed and implemented a series of tools that are actually in production now across the DoDin. And that was using agile methodologies, so streamlined development process and deployment process.
Yes, the magnitude of the size of the Army and the DoDin is significant. So I know there's a lot of work going on down there, an extremely superior organization down there taking care of the DoDin at large. So we certainly appreciate that. Gary, how about at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency? I know you all have been extremely busy working on a lot of different activities. Give us your top line.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Although it may sound old, it's still new, Zero Trust. This is not a new concept, to the Department of War or the intelligence community. Since 9/11, we've broken down stovepipes, and we really allowed IT and data to traverse anywhere and everywhere. Zero Trust has brought our focus back to the need-to-know philosophy, using technology as an enabler for an assume breach mentality. The concept seems trivial. However, the enablement brings a cost, one that I'm proud to report that we've had the great support from the highest levels of government, including NGA, and we are on year 2 of our implementation on a schedule to meet both Department of War and IC timelines. From a new trends that we're working on, the continuous authorization to operate, this improves cybersecurity in many ways here at NGA. It incentivizes individual programs to utilize enterprise services, where we both gain critical cyber telemetry, allowing a more timely and accurate view of cyber risks, and reducing overall cost of redundant solutions. This also allows programs to focus on securing systems rather than just working on paperwork. As you know, paperwork alone never actually secured a system.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, we want to say Zero Trust is table stakes. It's certainly ongoing. It's an architecture, right? It's a framework, and it's very important. So hats off to all of you over there for continuing to implement that very important architecture across your community. I may have referenced DoD as in respect to DOW. So if I did that, I certainly apologize. Still getting used to Department of War.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, Ryan, you all are on a tear over there. You've got Force Design 2028 recently published, a lot of funding to implement those capabilities. Give us a top line as to what you're spending your time on these days.
Thanks, Luke. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and join the other panelists. As you mentioned, I'll frame this around Force Design 28. So this is our Commandant's direction for modernizing the Coast Guard after decades of underinvestment. Our force design is designed around four different tables. Those are people, organization, acquisition, and technology. And it's backed by a historic investment of over $25 billion, which is a huge sum for the Coast Guard. So one of the most important shifts that we're seeing in force design is that leadership and technology, those roles exist to enable operational performance, not just to check boxes and reduce risk in that way. The Coast Guard's growing by over 15,000 military members, so that's about a 30% increase at where we're at today. This enables a more distributed operations and kind of novel ways to execute our mission. And then cybersecurity, how we manage our identity, our access, our data, and that technology must support this growing force that we have. So
please go ahead.
Yes. So from the C5I perspective, our mission here is to deliver secure, resilient, mission-aligned technology. And one of those core focuses for the Coast Guard, given how we operate, is in the denied, degraded, intermittent, and limited environment. And that's the last time I'll say that out all in one word, or DDIL. So that's not an edge case for us. That's where we operate in the middle of the ocean in austere environments. So today, our fleet, our shore, our air are well connected through satellite, cellular, things like that, SD-WAN. But just that connectivity alone isn't the objective. It's to keep our mission going no matter what. We recently deployed PLEO throughout the entire fleet. It's been a major improvement, but we have to assume that that's not going to be there. And I'll give you one example of a technology that we recently implemented that also helps us in that DDIL environment. It's something we call SWAN, or a Secure Wireless Area Network. So this is a private 5G solution that's aligned with Department of War guidance, providing connectivity to our cutters out in the middle of where they operate. And some of the things that it does for us, it gives our operators, like our boarding teams, the ability to have body-worn cameras and have the commanding officer see exactly what's going on off the cutter, as well as other capabilities like biometrics and things that our operators need. So that's just a few things. There's a lot more that I can get into.
Of course, and we'll ask you for another specific use case here in a moment, but an excellent one in regards to 5G. Speaking of 5G, Lamont, the pressure being put on and the weight being put on Verizon to continue to answer the mail and make sure that these environments are secure is daunting. And I know you all are doing a fantastic job. Give us a top line as to what you're seeing out there, striped across all these agencies.
Yeah, no, thanks, Luke, and agreed. There's a lot of work and a lot of things that we're doing in partnership with all of our public sector customers, both in the federal, state, and local environment. A lot of our focus has been really directed on how do we protect and secure these networks, and getting hyper-focused on what we're good at and what we do best in delivering both wireline and wireless services out to each one of these. And as previously, as Gary was saying, is zero trust, getting to that zero trust architecture, making sure that we're providing things from the the SASE environments, the SD-WAN, making sure those are integrating across the board, but also then moving into the voice security side of the house. Voice fraud is one of those things that's growing more and more, especially with the AI and deep fakes that are happening today. Just in the past couple of years, I mean, it's been about $12 billion to $15 billion worth of losses for individuals, agencies, companies, et cetera, just from voice security and how sophisticated these things are happening with the AI and AI technology. So what we're doing is driving home, how do we look at providing security around the network itself, the voice services over wireless services, providing that means of understanding of who's attached to the network, where data is going, securing that data, and then taking that information too as well, and tying it into our SOC services and ensuring that we can look at the behavioral analysis around these things and making sure that we're protecting those individuals that are leveraging our networks that we're providing to each one of our customers day to day.
Great example of all this omni-channel activity going on there, and all of it certainly needs to be secured. Ryan brought up a great example himself as well. So hats off to all the great work that's going on at Verizon to protect these environments. Rob, talking about protecting environments, that's ground zero for CrowdStrike. Give us a state of the state, please.
Thanks so much, Luke. Appreciate it. So it's been really rewarding over the past year to see continued adoption of sort of modern enterprise security technologies. One of the most important being, from our perspective, endpoint detection and response. Why? Because that really creates a substrate for a lot of the different enterprise security capabilities that public sector enterprises are needing to integrate. So obviously, people in the public sector, they're large. The enterprises are large. They're federated. They're often resource constrained, so there's a lot of gains to be had by just unifying things like IT operations, vulnerability management, threat hunting, and then being able to bring often from a centralized service provider, managed security services down to related entities. And we see that happening across the public sector in the state and local, municipal environments, and then even in federal and DoD areas. So that's fantastic to watch. And then really making sure that there's protection across things like IoT and servers, cloud environments, all these sort of more esoteric endpoints that weren't maybe in the first sort of tier of deployments for endpoint detection or response, when really that sort of took hold in the public sector over the past few years. And then, of course, it's been fantastic to see all these enterprises experimenting with new AI use cases.
Absolutely, and we really do appreciate the introduction of these new technologies to keep these environments secure. Speaking of new technologies, John, Abnormal AI. I love the title. I love the name of the company. I love the company and what you all are doing.
Thanks.
But first, why don't you tell us a little bit for the listening audience, what is Abnormal AI? What do you all do? And then give us a state of the state, if you will.
Yeah. Hey, so first and foremost, thanks for having me today, Luke.
Our pleasure.
So Abnormal AI is a AI native cybersecurity platform. What we do is we help our customers accelerate AI use cases within their environment, improve their security, and improve operational efficiencies. And we do that by integrating with our customers' current cloud email environment and create individual behavioral baselines for every user within the environment. We found that this has been a way more successful way to help identify very sophisticated email-based attacks that traditional reactive methods don't typically identify. In addition, we've been able to help customers operationalize and become more efficient within the Security Operations Center by leveraging these profiles and creating additional efficiencies to help take away some of the tedious tasks from the SOC.
Absolutely, and we really do appreciate all that you are doing to help secure this community, we'll call it. Let me jump back up to Gary and talk about a specific use case. I know there's a lot of activity going on over there. I read an article that you guys are, we're on this AI focus as well. You're working on the blocking and tackling with the, I'll call it blocking and tackling for the Zero Trust. Give us a specific use case, if you will.
A lot of different things. I talked earlier about Zero Trust, but one of the things that's made us successful in our journey for Zero Trust was looking at the enterprise first, and investing in the enterprise as opposed to having hundreds of programs individually work things. We've invested in bolstering our enterprise capabilities, such as our identity access and management system, our auditing system, our security incident and event management systems, and offering those capabilities up excuse me, to the larger and broader enterprise. In addition to that, there are systems and applications that cannot use those enterprise approaches. And for that, saying Zero Trust and bringing requirements is always daunting for a program manager. So what we did was we developed our own tool. We call it the Pika tool. And that tool actually does a survey out across applications and determines where they are delinquent in Zero Trust capabilities. That allows a program manager to then put into the proper planning cycle for the dollars and the capabilities to shore up those Zero Trust areas where they're delinquent. So working with program managers as opposed to just throwing requirements at them and not saying how to do things, is certainly a success story for Zero Trust at NGA.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that all the PMs really do appreciate that in spades, I would say. Rob, how about you at CrowdStrike? You all have an opportunity to stripe across all these various agencies, including in the private sector. You want to give us a specific example that you'd like to highlight?
Sure. One of the examples that's most resonant for the people that we talk about right now is just thinking about implementing AI in their cybersecurity operations. So we work with agencies to, to implement AI solutions in a variety of different ways. For over a decade, we've had AI really in the form of ML for our prevention capabilities within our sort of endpoint detection and response suite. And really, in the past few years, it's been interesting to see agencies really try and explore and experiment with integrating the newer AI capabilities that we're implementing. So that would be things like, in particular, our Charlotte capabilities so that people can correspond essentially with their security tools in natural language. And that really reduces the overhead for people that are historically maybe writing very complex queries to be able to search through data in their SIEM or in their endpoint tool to be able to say, I need a report that shows what's happened here or how we can, speed a remediation or what systems are most vulnerable or, what was the scope or impact of a particular incident or event. And then really increasingly in the past year, there's been attention on a new capability called AI detection and response. And that is really to really improve the hygiene of how agencies are controlling or to improve the guardrails around how people in an enterprise are using some of these generative AI tools. So there's all sorts of attacks that can be enabled through malicious uses of AI or even incautious uses of AI. And there's a lot of impetus, obviously, for people to experiment with using AI tools. So most CIOs and CISOs want to just be able to make sure that they can offer those capabilities to people in their enterprise, but do it in a way which is safe. So AI detection and response really enables people to do that. And that's been a huge theme of the past year. Of course, we expect that to continue over the coming year.
Sure. Delicate balance there for sure. General Wisniewski, how about a specific use case? You've got a lot of activity going on over there. You described some of the various efforts going on down there in Georgia. Do you want to highlight one?
Yes, sir. Probably one of the most interesting is a new hunt, assess, and test methodology. This was developed by Colonel Tim Sikora and his team in the Cyber Protection Brigade. And basically, it combines the traditional cyber threat hunting effort by a cyber protection team with what we call CORA, and that's the used to be the CCRI, the Cyber Operational Readiness Assessments. So you'd have the hunt, then the assess, and you follow that with the test by the red teams. And so with some of the reorganization, they kind of leveraged all that. What's neat is the way they've anchored that in sort of a risk framework. And that's informed by cyber threat intelligence, up to date cyber threat intelligence. So now they can focus those limited resources on that key cyber terrain. So that's probably been one of the most innovative things we've seen recently.
Hunt, assess, test. I love it. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about cybersecurity in the defense space and also in the Department of Homeland Security space. John, we're going to bring it down to you at Abnormal AI. We'd love for you to give us a specific use case that you'd like to highlight for the listening audience.
Yeah, I think one thing that AI is really helping a lot of organizations with right now is to help deal with the challenge of phishing that we see across the board. One thing we've noticed is we've seen, nation state threat actors, e-crime criminals really start to adopt AI in their processes and ability to kind of scale up and speed up their ability to penetrate networks by leveraging, large language models to, write these very sophisticated emails to like kind of unknowing users. One thing that traditional mechanisms don't have the ability to do is get an understanding of what's happening in these emails and how a user is supposed to address them. By adding things like large language models and computer vision in identifying these types of emails and how an email is supposed to act, I think we've helped a lot of organizations really not allow users the opportunity to kind of click on these links and fall victim to these types of attacks.
Was always an area of concern when we used to do these phishing campaigns, and boy, I'll tell you, it was a real battle keeping people from clicking on that. So we really do appreciate that. Ryan, you gave a great example earlier on the out on the high seas with the 5G. How about another example of where you all have been really bolstering up that cybersecurity environment?
So, Luke, I think one of the ways that we've been doing that through another initiative in Force Design, which is called implementation of our Raptor team. So that's the Rapid Response Prototype team. And that's really there to close the gap between emerging technology and operational use at speed. So Raptor works because it's how we execute. We start at the beginning with our operators, our cyber professionals, engineers, acquisition teams, and they're all have a shared vision of a mission outcome. And that lets us move quickly without separating security from the start. And that's often where things get right to authorization and fail. So already we've delivered some operational capabilities with Raptor, things like drone on demand and BadgerNet, which is a secure communications platform that doesn't need permanent infrastructure. So for our smaller assets that are out and about. And we're seeing Raptor move at 30, 60, and 90-day marks. So things are moving really quick over here. And it's not just about the technology. Again, it's about the model. And I think this really changes how we fundamentally look at risk management. And then instead of thinking about things just theoretically, we get out there and we look at risk in the face and make a decision at that point to proceed forward or stop and redirect. So in my experience, I think this is the fastest that I've seen government move while still delivering outcomes.
Fantastic. Coast Guard, a mighty force that moves and acts fast. We really do appreciate that. Lamont, how about at Verizon, specific use case out of all these various use cases that we impose upon Verizon? Give us the top one.
Yeah, no, and as you know, we're a very mobile world. You heard from Ryan there on what they're
Very
doing
much
just
so.
over the seas. So one of the things when we're trying to work, we're talking back to the voice security and making sure that we're protecting. I mean, I have all these wireless devices, these tablets, the iPads and things, and connected laptops that we provide into the government. Is then how do we make sure that it's actually routing and you're getting calls from the right people? So looking at how you deal with the call authentication, looking at how then you provide the right, routing of these traffic to go to the right places and that you're talking to the right person. So there's a lot of work that we're doing inside of the network itself to make sure that one, you're moving your traffic to the places it's supposed to go. And then from there along that is then looking at making sure there's not anti-spoofing that's happening and going on between, rogue devices that are, trying to tap into calls or into the networks themselves. So we're looking at that, making sure that network is not being spoofed. And then, when we do see things and bad acting happening from there, we have the intelligent routing inside of the network to be able to then move traffic to the right places, move nefarious traffic to where it should not be, just to make sure that all in all, that you have that protective measure, that means of being able to ensure that you're having that phone call that is necessary, that is cleared, and you're talking to the right person at the other end of that line.
Absolutely. That's the last thing you want to think about is this call being protected, right? You just need to make the call, and we really do appreciate that. General, let's go up to you and start talking about priorities. I know you got a deuce and a half full of them. But let's start with the top 2 or 3, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. So as other folks have mentioned, obviously the zero trust, that's a key one for us. Unified network is another, but also the focus on artificial intelligence. I think like most organizations, we're looking at that, both how we can leverage it and to Rob's point, some of the concerns we have about, what are the guardrails and what needs to be put in place. To that end, our chief science advisor, Mr. Al Mollenkoff, actually has created a monthly AI users group that we use to encourage folks to present both success stories and cautionary tales on use of it with the hallucinations and things. But it encourages that adoption and offers an opportunity for folks within the command to really say and showcase, hey, here's what we're doing. And other folks raise their hand and say, wow, we're doing something similar. So you're seeing a lot of that collaboration. So I think those are areas of focus for us as we go forward.
Absolutely. And I love the crowdsourcing idea there. Speaking of crowds, we're going to go to you, Rob. And what's the demand signal that you all are reacting to right now, and what do you focus on in 2026?
Thanks. So there's so many new technologies in the enterprise security space. So there's a lot of demand from everywhere to just experiment with new capabilities. At the same time, there's a lot of sort of pressures to do more with less because there's resource constraints everywhere. And that's especially true, frankly, in the public sector and even in the federal environment these days. So it's really making sure that we can offer new capabilities, but do it in a way that's easy to ingest, easy to experiment with, and then sort of integrated with a platform and in a way that's very conscientious of these various resource constraints. So anything we can do that offers consolidation or shared services approaches, those tend to be very popular. And indeed, if you're using cloud-based technology, there's a lot of ease in doing those sort of implementations anyways. And then like others have mentioned today, there's a need to sort of continue with zero trust. And if you're able to use cloud-based solutions, there's a lot of native ways to make sure that you're implementing those solutions in a way that leverages zero trust concepts. A little bit more specifically, I think some of the things that are most resonant now for people in the community are really just thinking about next-gen SIEM environments. There's waves in our industry where there's focus on different segments of the stack, and right now there's a lot of need to get out and modernize some of these solutions. In part because the data streams are growing, and in part because of some of the AI tools that we've mentioned, there's a lot more that you can do. There's a lot of capabilities that you can bring into a next-gen SIEM environment, and then that will dovetail often with new opportunities to really just improve workflows, so that if you do have personnel disruptions or if you need to allocate people toward other challenges, and maybe that's compliance or maybe that's special projects, you can really take things that are historically really time consuming and then make sure that you can build automated workflows in next-gen SIEM, for that, and then often leveraging AI so that they can achieve scale.
Absolutely. Such a powerful tool, and trying to make sure that it's leveraged as to the extreme that it can be. Gary, I know you've got a lot of priorities over there as well. How about your top 2 or 3 for 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say first and most important, working closely with our new director, General Bradenkamp, make sure that we can illuminate the cyber risks of the agency to all levels of leadership. We'll do this through advanced models and visualization capabilities, so that whether you're a system owner looking down to the actual IP address or the director of the agency, knowing what is going to get you. Excuse me. The second thing I'd say is always to defend NGA systems against the advanced persistent threats. We don't just operate on classified networks. We also operate on the unclassified network, as our mission is very unique at NGA. Everything from warfighter support to intelligence support down to first responder support. And so because we're so broad and we have so many different classification networks, we really have to be able to defend against the advanced persistent threat there. And the last thing is, as always, champion secure design of new systems. Anytime you field a system, you should immediately be thinking, what's the replacement? And so rather than waiting for systems to become end of life, as soon as they're fielded, I'm championing that the next generation is going to be built, and it's going to be built securely.
We really do appreciate that. And you probably had a very good point about these various enclaves. I mean, it's hard enough to, harden one enclave, but you have to stripe across 3 or 4 of them and do it continuously. I know that gets very tricky, so hats off to everyone over there for focusing a lot of attention on that. Speaking of a lot of attention, Lamont, we put a lot of requirements, a lot of weight on you all. So there's a lot of different various plates being spun over there. Give us a top line in regards to, what are the top 2 or 3 priorities that you all are focusing on for 26?
Yeah, so working along with providing all the network security and doing anything that's attached to the network, getting to some of the points here that a lot of folks have hit on is really then taking a lot of information and data and be able to leverage and provide the security measures that are around that. So building into our SOC services, how do we then take all the information that's coming off our voice networks, off of our wireless networks, off of our other networks, and providing enough information for our and analysts and end users and analysts to be able to work and secure each one of these services and networks that we're providing out to our end users, and then also provide information out to each one of the other partnering SOCs too as well that we work with. Because this security is not something that's just done by yourself. As you know, it's a community effort that we have to work on together. And it's how do we then share information? How do we then leverage these new AI technologies to do the analysis that's necessary to quickly get to the resolutions or the preventions too as well, not just working in after effect, but working to try to prevent these things so that we're providing these secure services out to each one of our customers. So really that's our focus, is trying to make sure that we take all this information in and leverage it to the best of our ability to be able to protect the nation today.
I really do appreciate you pointing out the collaboration that goes on between Verizon and all the other partners to keep this ecosystem safe. Ryan, you pointed out a couple of things that you're working on very diligently in 2026. What are those top 3 priorities for you at the Coast Guard for 2026?
The first, like the other panelists said, zero trust. The Department of War has a compliance date for those target capabilities of end of fiscal year 27, so that's approaching very quickly. I'd say 2 is zero trust, but for IoT, OT, and ICS. So that target's a little bit further out, 2030 for Department of War. However, is critical for us, given our cutters. They use them for navigation, propulsion, you name it. So getting after that is important. And then lastly, I'd say expanding automation and AI. That way we can allow our people to focus on the 11 big missions that we have. And we're doing this through a capability that we're calling Ask Hamilton, a generative AI capability. We've had some recent success with partnering with DHS S&T through HS Works, engaging industry, government, and academia. And we're very close to initial operating capability there.
Love the partnership there. And it's interesting, you're going from a very legacy environment, right? I think I'm being kind there, right? To a very modern environment. It reminds me of these third world environments that never put copper or even fiber in the ground, went straight to wireless and just leapfrogged, right? So it's a great opportunity for you all to adopt these various technologies such as AI and just go right to the front of the line there. So hats off to the Coast Guard for doing that. Speaking of AI, John, we're back to you. Abnormal AI, top priorities for you in 2026.
I think one of the things that we're really excited about going into the year is how the government is focusing on modernization, as some of the other panelists had mentioned, and in improving operational efficiency. So that's really what we're driving to do, is to kind of help our customers and our prospects identify those opportunities. One of the more unique things that we've heard quite a bit recently goes back to one of your earlier points, Luke, is we're seeing organizations kind of rethink the way that they do security awareness training, right? So you mentioned that's a very tedious job that someone in the organization has to do. Wouldn't it be great if that's something that AI can take away from the organization or help support the organization become more operationally efficient when they're delivering those types of simulations?
Really do appreciate that. And I really do appreciate this next question. I'm glad we have an opportunity to get right into it. And that's lessons learned, right? You all are at the vanguard of implementing a lot of these things. And I think it's important for the audience to hear sort of, what are the battle scars? How about you, Gary? You wanna give us your top lessons learned as you're rolling out these capabilities
Absolutely.
across your environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Lessons learned. Speak the language of the people that you're talking to. Far too often in cybersecurity, we want to focus on cybersecurity terms and language. We'll talk about an attacker and why we know they came from a Windows box because their TTL on the IP header packet was set to, whatever it was. Exactly. And that doesn't help when you're trying to talk to senior leaders about cyber risk. It doesn't help when you're talking to the finance people about why you need dollars to invest for critical capabilities. It doesn't help when you're talking to industry about your specific problems on the government side of the house. You have to be able to speak the language of those who are listening to you. So lessons learned, make sure you carry that additional translator with you or whatever you need to get the people that need to get the message to have them understand what you're trying to convey to them.
Seems so simple, but so powerful and very important. We really do appreciate you highlighting that. Lamont, how about at Verizon? So much activity going on over there. You see it, sort of from tip to tip. Give us a top lesson learned as you watch everyone go on this journey with you.
Yeah, and a lot of it is focus on where your strengths are and recognize that this is a community of technology and people that need to be able to work together. You can easily get brought into a bunch of different services and offerings and things that you can put out there today between identity services, network security, analytics that you can get involved with, et cetera, zero trust. Just there's a plethora of things that have to be all integrated and working together to be able to secure these services and enterprises that we're working in and agencies. And really what it goes down to is how do I then focus on where my strengths are, make sure I'm delivering the best that I possibly can to be able to secure these environments, and then also work across the aisle to be able to partner again. Back to that collaboration that we were just talking about previously, because there is not one agency, one company, or one specific technology that can do it all. How do we then bring all these things together, architect to a specific protection out that we want to get to, and then that's how we then deliver the protection around the nation today.
Really do appreciate you highlighting that. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about cybersecurity environments, specifically in the Department of War and Department of Homeland Security. And we're talking about lessons learned. General, I'm going to go up to you. I know you've got a plethora of them. Give us your top lesson learned as you all are going on this journey.
There's a whole collection, but I would echo some of the other panelists where, again, the training and target audience understanding is key. The training can't just be for folks, at their desk. It has to be for senior leaders, folks in acquisition, folks in procurement. So across the board, I do think that's where a lot of the focus needs to be. Combined with that, if you look at sort of the Department of War, the zero trust pillars and things, if you're familiar with ITIL or ITSM, a lot of those are going to be very similar to the fundamentals that we've been doing for a long time. If you do good incident management, if you do good problem management, change control, configuration management, a lot of this boils down to the fundamentals. So least privilege access, user inventory, identity management, hardware management, all of that kind of ties together. The other thing I'd say is senior leadership helping champion these efforts and providing room for folks to be creative for things like hunt, assess, and test, willing to allow processes to be recombined in a way we might not have thought about before. And that's the type of creativity we want to continue to leverage.
Absolutely. And, some of those basic blocking and tackling activities are so important, but often get either misunderstood or just not paid attention to, and that's where you end up getting burned, right, over and over. We've seen it time and time again. So hats off to highlight and illuminate that. Rob, how about at CrowdStrike? You all have an opportunity to see all these activities going on across the spectrum, and you get involved, and when things go bad, I know you've got some really juicy lessons learned here. Give us a couple.
Okay, I'll mention a few very succinctly. So one is just hopefully people just don't lose sight of the fact that there are adversaries targeting them that are actual people, actual institutions that have actual interests, and that there are things that we as a community know about them. And if you're a defender, there's a lot of rationale for really trying to understand the particulars of those things, because that informs your threat model and it should inform what security solutions you seek to implement. So really just focusing on the adversary, that would be one. Another one is really to focus your teams internally on the highest leverage activities that you possibly can. That's different for every different organization. Some people need help kind of at the level of like a SOC analyst one, so just basically triaging alerts and doing some of the basic investigations. Some people need it at the elite level. They want to partner with someone that can help them with threat hunting and things of that nature. Some people just need a hand at different hours of the day, or they maybe want to focus themselves and their internal teams on things that require a high level of attention for things like service delivery or security program maturity. So they want someone that can help with everything that's tactical. But really, however you define high leverage for your organization, recognize that you're not alone, focus on that stuff, bring in partners that can help with some of those other tasks. And then finally, use the best technology that you can get wherever you can get it. I mentioned before, everyone's constrained, especially in this theater. So that may not be the case that everybody can go out and get the best tool for everything, but where you can get a best-in-class technology solution, obviously people should do that.
Absolutely, and really do appreciate you highlighting those tips for the community here. Ryan, how about at the Coast Guard? Certainly have some lessons learned as you all get rapid deployment out there. You want to share a couple with us?
I do. I have three quick ones. So first, I think that cybersecurity works best when it's treated as a mission enabler, not a compliance exercise. So really framing security around enabling operations, not just checking those boxes. It has allowed us to move faster, accept the right risks, and deliver those outcomes to our operators more quickly. And then again, second, rapid prototyping. I'd say on that, it does require discipline. So there is some structure that's needed there. Speed without that is just going to create rework. And again, the alignment with cyber engineering, acquisition, and operators is what enables us to kind of move quickly and scale whenever we find something that works. And I'd say finally, the last one, but probably the most important, is that technology alone is not going to create our readiness. That's our people. The tools and platform only matter if the workforce is trained and equipped and trusted to do what they need to do in their mission. And I'm happy to see that Force Design outlines a good strategy for us to get where we need to be.
I really do appreciate that too, and I was as well happy to see that they really highlighted that as one of the key elements to be successful. John, how about abnormal AI in regards to lessons learned as you're working with these various agencies?
Yeah, I think one of the lessons that we see agencies learn all the time is the importance of taking an identity-centric approach. As Rob mentioned, our adversaries are well-funded, they're highly skilled, and they're able to be exceptionally targeted on their attacks. So organizations are at a huge disadvantage unless they really understand the users within their environment and how those users are supposed to behave, to understand when things kind of fall awry. So I think that organizations that are really investing in these identity-centric approach are able to take advantage of a lot of other benefits across the organization.
All right, we're going to swing back around and fast forward for a couple of years to what it's going to look like, say 2 to 3 years from now. We don't like to go out 5 years. That's just too long. And actually, I'm going to start with you, John. And as we fast forward, you just paint a picture. What's it going to look like? What's in the petri dish over there at Abnormal AI that's going to be in the mainstream 2 to 3 years from now?
Yeah, I think we're in the midst of an AI revolution right now, and I anticipate that organizations will start adopting AI much quicker than we did with cloud several years ago. And I
Mhm.
think the organizations that kind of build out architectures that promote interoperability and allow their systems to operate at machine speed while keeping a human in the loop are going to be the most successful. So I think at Abnormal, we're going to continue to invest in identity, right? And identity centric use cases and additional AI use cases that kind of taking a behavioral approach can help organizations kind of reduce costs while improving efficiencies by leveraging AI.
We're really looking forward to that. Rob, how about at CrowdStrike? There's a lot cooking over there. I know you all have probably more than one petri dish underway. 2 to 3 years from now, what's it going to look like? What are you focusing on?
Thanks, Luke. So for this community, I think a lot of the energy that collectively we invest over the coming years really will fit neatly into what the NCD has forecasted will be included in the National Cyber Strategy, which could be out very shortly. We could go through and talk about each of the pillars that are likely to be in there, but there's a couple that I'd highlight because I do think that they'll be especially important for just the work that we elect to do as a community over the next couple of years. That is one, really taking the fight to the adversary, being more persistent in terms of disrupting their operations so that they can't continue to victimize organizations, whether in the public sector or the private sector, large enterprises and small and medium-sized businesses. So I think that as a community, we're going to drive toward having more conversations about how we can confront some of those threats more actively and more proactively. And that'll be fantastic to participate in as a community. The second one is just more around AI. We've talked about it several times here today. So there'll be everybody throughout the enterprise using AI for all sorts of different business process things. Of course, in the security team specifically, there's so much opportunity there because of the constraints that I mentioned before, whether they're personnel constraints, we all have a lot of demands on our time, or whether they're resource constraints. And of course, AI will provide a pathway for people to become more efficient at their work. At the same time, getting back to the adversary, they'll also be using AI. So we need to make sure that we have our tools in place so that we can make sure that we're able to confront threats that will be coming at us in a way which is more persistent, in a way which is potentially more insidious. If there's AI in the enterprise, threat actors can leverage that as new attack surface, and they can make more persuasive phishing attempts. They can find different pathways to leverage AI at scale and autonomously without using traditional command and control tactics like you would have seen in the previous generation of malware and things of that sort. So that's what we're watching for.
Absolutely, and we look forward to that and appreciate all that you all are doing. Lamont, Verizon, what are we going to see 2 to 3 years from now? Are we fully on 6G? What's happening?
No, we are still moving there, and we're going to be there very soon, Luke. But
okay.
Yeah, one of those things I would say is looking at how the networks and the things that are happening above the network are integrating and working in automated fashion to protect the end user. So you're going to always still have those things that are going to continue to evolve with those zero trust architectures, building those into place. But then you're going to take the things like John was just mentioning before and moving at machine speed. So you're going to have all these identity things and all the other behavior analytics. And you're going to have those things I see more and more in the future start becoming tightly integrated between these zero trust architectures and the services that are being on top of these networks to be able to then provide that security, so that you have more of that machine speed security that's going to be put into place, so that when you do see a threat or you're trying to prevent a threat, there's going to be more automation and things put into place to be able to move the networks, move traffic, reprogram things so that to the end user it's a seamless protected environment that you're going to be working within. So that's where I see in the next few years of more and more tightly integrated services to bring more automation and quick speed decision making.
Appreciate all that you all are doing. Ryan, you'll be fully immersed into Force Design 2028 in a couple of years. What's it going to look like? What are you going to be focusing your attention on?
So I'm excited to see where we're going to be at that point. But I think one of the big programs for us is Coastal Sentinel, and that's really the integration of all the sensors across air, surface, and shore, including things like unmanned and autonomous systems into that single common operating picture. So I think we're going to get further with that, and then we'll be able to do more things. We're going to extend our reach, increase our persistence, reduce risk to our people. So kind of just all that together, and then putting all that information at enterprise scale, but at the edge. So I'm excited to see what that does for our Coast Guard missions.
From an operating perspective, what does that look like once that's fully installed? Just a glimpse into the future for those that are listening in regards to, what does an operator see once they have that capability available to them?
Right. So really the common operating picture. So things like very quickly the system with all those sensors, what it does at just to bring multiple points down into just a few, quickly observes what is going on in the environment, analyzes that, and then gives a decision to the operator to accept, be that human in the loop, and move out with that decision. So all that information within, right now our target's 5 seconds doing all of that, and we're coming in much under that benchmark right now already.
Wow, that's very impressive, and we really do appreciate it. Gary, when we fast forward 2 to 3 years, we know you've got an incredible amount of technology out there, more coming, I'm sure. What's it look like 2 to 3 years
So really
from
for
now
me,
in regard to your environment?
it's setting the stage in how NGA delivers secure geospatial intelligence,
Mm,
right? How we do that with the different technologies that we're using, some new, some old, AI coming into it. Obviously, everyone's going to talk about AI. We generally talk about AI and how it's going to help us and some of the threats that it brings us. But we also need to be talking about AI and how we can use it to defend against these threats. How to increase our cybersecurity operations center capabilities by utilizing AI. So that's a big part of it. And the next 2 to 3 years, we'd be crazy if we're not talking about quantum. Quantum is the next AI, and that's right around the corner. We have to start talking about it now because before we know it, it's going to be here.
absolutely. And just curious, top challenge for you as you look at going forward over the next couple of years. Is it people? Is it procurement? Is it funding? Is it all of the above? What's sort of your, I'll call them barriers or opportunities?
Right. So people is always going to be our challenge. We have 4 generations in the workforce today.
Wow.
And every one of those generations utilizes IT in a different way. And making sure that they understand from a personal standpoint as well as a business standpoint what the left and right bounds are and how to navigate those is something that we always have to get through. You can have the most secure system in the world, and it only takes one user clicking on one hyperlink that I think Ryan was talking about earlier, that can ruin it all. And so what we have worked on the last several years is we actually do phishing exercises within the agency. As a matter of fact, we also do whaling exercises within the agency where we target specific users and try to get them to click links and do things that they shouldn't. After doing this, we obviously collect the data. We have long, hard discussions with them and make sure that everybody knows what is appropriate and what is not from a cyber perspective.
Brian, I didn't get a chance forgot to ask you about your barriers and any challenges there. What would be your sort of top opportunity that you have to work through as you roll out this capability?
I'm going to answer that, I guess, more general. So, like I mentioned, the Coast Guard has been historically underinvested. So, changing that culture, we're used to doing a lot with a little, and now we have a little bit more. So, changing that mindset is, I think, it's one of the things that I'm seeing. And then just with all this reorganization, while I think the outcome will be better, it's going to take a little bit of time, I think, for our staff to fall in line and to get where that strategy points us to.
Absolutely. You've got a lot of MacGyvers out there, and now all of a sudden you're going to give them a lot of money and capability, and who knows what's going to happen, right? So we really do appreciate that and look forward to it as well. General, you are going to wrap us up. Take us home. First of all, in regards to paint a picture of the future, 2 to 3 years from now, and then if you could weave in some of those top opportunities, challenges, barriers, whatever you want to call it today.
Yes, sir. No, I would echo, the other panelists, obviously, that we're going to be facing an increasingly sophisticated adversary as we go forward. One thing from Army Cyber Command's perspective is we either provide or enable the very first weapon system that most soldiers log into in the morning, around the globe. And so we're engaged with the enemy. We conduct operations daily. And I think acknowledging that and really looking at training that force, as folks have mentioned. And that's the civilians, that's our contractors, that's our soldiers, but not only the active duty folks, but also in the National Guard and Army Reserve. I think one thing we're going to begin seeing is probably some innovative employment models for the National Guard and Army Reserve as we go forward. Things that we might not have considered before, but in 2026, a lot of the technologies have provided us that capability. Additionally, I would say we're going to just continue to focus on reducing that attack surface. The cyber threat intelligence piece obviously is growing more sophisticated. We're getting better insight into a lot of these organizations, these adversaries. But I also think a focus on resilience, you're starting to see more of a discussion around that. So it'll be challenging, but I do think for us, the people are where we're going to be able to make the biggest difference there.
Absolutely. And each one of you are patriots, you're warriors, and I appreciate you being on the show and taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors for supporting us on the show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.